Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Cruncher Slate preview here on YouTube. I'm the Siege. Apologize if my voice is cracky slash bad. I was at the Battlehawks game yesterday and kind of got a little into it. So apologize for my voice. Apologize if it's a little scratchy and or can barely hear me. But that wasn't going to stop me from doing this preview. We've got, 8 games today. We've got a ton of injury news, so really let's just go ahead and get started. Again, I'm going to try to keep this to 25-30 minutes. That's the goal. See if we can do it. So first game up is Miami at Cleveland. Miami 6-point favorites. Jimmy Butler did not travel with the team due to personal reasons. Kevin Love, a game time decision with that Achilles. We'll kind of have to see. Really doesn't matter one way or another if he plays. For Miami, I think a lot of people are going to go to Kendrick Nunn today. I think he's going to be really popular. I'm a little concerned here. So we've got a team that is playing a lot deeper than they were earlier in the season. You know, right now their rotation is 9 guys, maybe even 10. They give Silva some minutes. And I'm just worried that Kendrick Nunn isn't really going to do what we expect him to do. He's priced up a little bit. He's priced up to 5,600. That is a 20% price boost off of what we saw last time. And, I know he just played well in a ton of minutes here against Cleveland in a blowout just a couple days ago, but, I mean, you can't count on him shooting this well. And if he doesn't shoot that well, he's really not going to pay off this price. The 8 assists feels a little high. I would just rather play Bam, personally. He didn't play a whole lot of minutes in that blowout, but again, he's looked really good recently, coming off that huge game against Atlanta. The assists have been way up, and that's the thing I think that makes I'm trying to think how to say this, helps his upside the most, right? So, when he was a 3 or 4 assist guy, it's really hard to, put up these monster games. But if you're going to put up 7, 8 assists, now you can, go 24 and 10 with 8 assists, and you're killing this price, 8,500. It's a good matchup against Cleveland. You can even see here in the blowout, he was averaging 1.5 fantasy points per minute. So really no reason not to go back to him here. I guess Andre Drummond is a little bit of a concern for the rebound total. I guess you could make that argument, but I guess Embiid's going to be the best center play, but he's not a bad option if you want to go that way. These other guys, I don't mind if you want to play any of the Heat. I just don't really think any of them really stands out as this must-have play. Derrick Jones Jr. is probably my favorite of the bunch, but they're all kind of just about the same. Cleveland, Andre Drummond, 8,100. Seems like a fair price, but it is a tough matchup against Bam. So you kind of just have to see. They're still playing Tristan Thompson a ton of minutes, so I really don't have any interest in this Cleveland side. There's a lot of games that are good today, so I'm going to kind of just move on. This next game has a ton of good plays. Atlanta at Philly. The injury news here. Capella's still out. Ben Simmons is out. Tobias Harris listed as questionable. Those day of game up downgrades are always concerning to me. So I've been mentally ruling Tobias as out. And if he's out, Joel Embiid is the top play on the slate. Against this terrible Atlanta team. Should draw a huge usage rate. He's been averaging 37% usage without Tobias. And Ben Simmons on the floor during the season. It's an awful matchup against the Hawks. It's an awful matchup for the Hawks. Embiid can do whatever he wants. So he's my favorite center of the group. And then if those guys sit, you have to figure out what other Philly role players you want to play. There's a couple options. Josh Richardson goes from a .75 fantasy point per minute player to 1. I think he's probably the next best option here at 4,800 against the Hawks. And then it gets a little interesting. You can go Korkmaz, you can go Shake Milton, you can go Glenn Robinson III. They all have good fantasy point per minutes. I would kind of just need to see who's starting. And from there, I would make a determination on who I want to play of this group. But they're all fantastic values. They're all too cheap here for this 228.5 total against the Hawks. So I would just fire at will here on this value plays. If you need a value play today, this is the game, and this is really the spot I'm most focused on. There are a couple other okay ones, but this is really just the best. For the Hawks, Trae Young, 10-6. if Tobias and Ben Simmons aren't there, should be a better defensive spot. He's had a couple good games against Philly already this season, so I wouldn't mind going back there as well, especially if you want to run it back with a star. I think that's your man. Dwayne Dedmon against Joel Embiid. I pray for the foul trouble he's probably going to get himself into, but it's worth a crack, I guess. 4,800. He could have to play huge minutes here because Damian Jones just isn't going to stop him, and Bruno Fernando isn't going to stop him, and they really can't play John Collins at the 5 that much against Joel Embiid. It's just not going to work. So it is kind of a sneaky Dwayne Dedmon minute ceiling spot, but honestly, it's really just Trae Young, and then these other guys I would consider in game stacks, but I wouldn't just recommend them as these amazing options. Okay, Milwaukee at Washington. So this game's a 13-point spread, 243 total. Milwaukee's kind of the same deal. You know, you kind of just got to see what the situation's going to be. I imagine here against the Wizards, they're going to go ahead and start Robin Lopez, but I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin Williams ended up playing the most minutes. Really just is no reason to be that big against the Wizards, especially with Thomas Bryant out. You figure they're going to start Mo Wagner at the 5. So really no reason why you can't just go to Marvin Williams. Marvin Williams at 3,100 might be an interesting value play if you're looking to get off the reservation. But again, you just never know what the minutes with him are going to be, even with Brook Lopez being out. Middleton, Bledsoe are okay options, but you're just going to have to hit the ceiling in 3/4 most likely. Giannis, of course, is just always a beast, and locking in those 60 fantasy points never really that bad of a plan. For the Wizards, I mentioned that I expect Mo Wagner to start. I do expect Mo Wagner to start for Thomas Bryant. I know Ian Mahinmi started last time, but he only played 8 minutes, so I'm going to assume that Mo Wagner gets the start here, especially against the Bucks, and they're going to want to space this out. Davis Bertans played 37 minutes last night. He's listed as questionable. I mentally am ruling him out, and if he does sit, Roy Hachimura, one of the best options, 5,700, should be locked into 30 to 35 minutes in this spot. Can get some shots off from the corner. Been much better since the break. Since January 1st, averaging a fantasy point per minute, which is a nice 11% boost on his seasonal average. So that's something to note there, as I like Hachimura. The rotation I expect will get cut down a little bit here if Bertans sits. We're looking at kind of a 9-man rotation here with Beal, Hachimura, Ish Smith, Mo Wagner, Troy Brown, Mahinmi, Bogner, and Napier. And Jerome Robinson, maybe it is 10. No, it's 9 without Bertans, so we're good. It is a 9-man rotation. So that does open up more minutes for everyone. So again, I think that Mo Wagner is probably my favorite of the group. But I don't mind a Hachimura. I don't mind Beal too. But, I mean, he just did go absolutely bananas last night on a 46% usage rate. 40 minutes. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they just sat Bradley Beal on the back-to-back. But it's a home game, so they probably won't. But just something to think that Beal could be a late scratch. Just given the minutes limit, I guess they are a playoff contender. I keep forgetting they're a playoff contender. Scratch that. He's going to play. I keep forgetting that they're only like 2.5 days back of the 8th seed in the East. We made fun of the Wizards all year, and they're like actually a playoff contender. Relatively. In the word playoff contender, I put that in asterisks. They're not really going to go anywhere, but they might be able to get some 2 home games out of it. But yeah, I don't really see anything else here I really need to mention. But this is definitely a spot for some value, too. If you're playing, let's say you think the game stays close, definitely could game stack this as well. Orlando at Brooklyn. To be honest, this game doesn't have any appeal to me whatsoever. The pricing on everyone's right. The pricing has gone up on all the right guys. I guess Taurean Prince at 4,400 would be the one guy I would mention. But there's just a lot of players in that price point that I think are just going to grade out a little better than Prince. Jarrett Allen's playing no minutes, and I'm not going to play DeAndre Jordan, who's playing like 27 minutes a night. Vooch against Jarrett Allen I have interest in. Against DeAndre Jordan, not really. Aaron Gordon's price is up. I'm trying to find something here, but I really just don't see anything here that's really worth our consideration on this slate. So, if you want to be contrarian, I don't hate Vooch that much, but again, Embiid at center is just going to be such a better option. Yeah, I think we can move on. There really just isn't anything here that we really need to talk about. Knicks at Houston. The Knicks have a bunch of injury news. Elfrid Payton questionable with an ankle. Frankie Ntilikina has been already ruled out with that groin injury. Mitchell Robinson is expected back with that ankle as well. We'll start with the Knicks. If Payton and Ntilikina are out, Dennis Smith Jr. will start at point guard, and he will be mega chalk at 3,300. Look, it's Dennis Smith Jr. We all know at this point he's not that great at basketball, but against Houston at 3,300, if you're going to play 30 minutes, it is really hard to find a way to say, like, oh, can't play him. So we'll have to see. If Elfrid Payton goes, obviously you don't play Dennis Smith, but something to note. RJ Barrett, too, would be pretty sneaky. If Elf Payton sits as well, he would get some extra ball handling in his hands. You can see his usage rate's actually gone up in their one game since the break, 40% usage rate. So that definitely is, I don't think it'll be that high again, but if Elf and Frankie sit, I do think Barrett would get a lot of run as the de facto point guard, even if Dennis Smith Jr. is the point guard in name. Other than that, though, not a great spot for Randall. And one of these other wings could go off, but they're just playing a bunch of guys. 3, 6, 9, 11. It's just, I really don't want to get in on it. I guess it's 10-man if Peyton's out, but still, it's just not really a situation I want to get too attached to, other than just like a super obvious value like Dennis Smith Jr. and RJ Barrett if Elf Payton sits. For Houston, I mean, it's a 230 total here at home. They should put up a ton of points. You know, it really is just your usual suspects. Westbrook, Harden, Tucker at center with those rebound potentials. Eric Gordon at 3,700. But if this game gets out of hand, they definitely do have the bench guys in Carroll to just roll out some guys in garbage time. So, you know, you're definitely going to need production here out of three quarters. Harden and Westbrook can do it, especially against the Knicks. I mean, James Harden's gone for almost 100 fantasy points, or did get 100 fantasy points against the Knicks at one point. Let's see. Now I'm just curious if it was 100. Yeah, it was 100. On New Year's Eve in 2016, it was 103. That was a good slate. As someone who had 100% James Harden. But he's also almost did it again last year, too. He put up 97 at the Garden. So, I mean, he just loves facing the Knicks. It's a good matchup. If the game stays close, they'll need him. If it doesn't, obviously he'll play limited minutes, but he still is a fantastic option. Same with Russell Westbrook. So it's kind of just your normal suspects here. Eric Gordon is kind of sneaky, but he just hasn't been playing a ton of minutes yet. So I kind of want to see him play the 30 minutes before I get super excited. But I do have to admit, Eric Gordon at 3,700 is always going to have appeal to me because I just know that he can get hot at any point. Okay, I think that's it for this game. Let's move on. Minnesota at Dallas. The news here, Luka Doncic is a game time decision. I meant to look to make sure that's correct, and I didn't. He's probable. Okay, great. So Luka will play. Towns is out. Russell is back from the rest. So for me, this game really comes down to what's your confidence level in D'Angelo Russell against this Dallas defense. It's not a fantastic matchup, but Russell's going to just get whatever usage he wants on this team. So the question just simply is, how much do you want to play Russell here? There's a lot of other good stars in this price range. It's just a situation where I don't think you have to go there. Like, honestly, Kristaps, even with Luka back against Naz Reid, is just a fantastic option, and I'm not much of a Kristaps guy. I like Malik Beasley, 6K, probably where the limit is for me in terms of playing Malik Beasley when Russell's around. Guancho, 52, probably the same situation. They're kind of priced as if Russell wasn't going to play. On the Dallas side, their prices if Doncic is out. Doncic at 10.5 might be just too cheap, too. But again, how close is this game going to be? Dallas is a 13-point favorite. We got a lot of huge favorites on this slate, too. Milwaukee, Houston, and Dallas, all 13-plus point favorites. Definitely can make this slate a little bit wonky here if one of those games blows out or if one of those games stays competitive. So, going to kind of have to make some decisions kind of on what you think is going to happen in some of these games to get the right combinations. But I do definitely think that this is an option for you if you want to go that way. But the pricing, they're all wrong, so it's going to be a contrarian game stack. But it's possible. But it's a game that I'm probably just going to ignore. Feels weird saying I'm just going to ignore a 239 total, but the pricing is just all wrong here. Phoenix at Utah. Ayton's expected to play. Sarge is expected to play. Bane's expected to play. Phoenix is just rolling out too many guys right now. And they're rolling out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like that's just a strong pass for me. I'm not touching any team with an 11-man rotation playing in Utah. Pace down spot. For Utah, I've just been off of Utah. Like I know they're running a tight rotation, but where's the ceiling on any of these guys? Like if all their good players are playing all the time, like the Donovan Mitchell good games are like 42 fantasy points, and it's just Bojan really just hasn't, like the big Bojan games are like 6x. Like there really just isn't any break the slate guy here. Like that guy's Ben Clarkson, but his price is now correct up to 6K. Like I guess he can go break a slate, but you really want to roster that on a slate with all this good value and all these good studs? I can't get there. So this game is kind of another game that I'm just kind of crossing off. And finally, Memphis at the Clippers. This is my favorite game of the entire slate. I think Kawhi Leonard's going to be grossly underowned in this spot. I think he's going to be a fantastic option. 9,700. The guy's just been posting up 50-plus burgers at will. He's never owned. He's unowned every slate. He's basically Giannis, except you get him for 2,000 less in terms of just stability here. I love Kawhi. They haven't played since Saturday. Only played once since the break. I love Kawhi in this spot. Paul George, I expect to play with that hamstring. I think he's probable. Let me just double check that. Oh, he's questionable. Interesting. Went through light practice. Well, he might even be on a minutes limit if he comes back, so that's probably still good for Paul George. The Clippers are just so deep as a team. Like Reggie Jackson's there now off the bench, and Harrell and Marcus Morris and Shamet. I really just kind of need to see what they're doing. I'm really not going to touch any of these other guys other than Kawhi, because I just don't know what the rotation is going to look like, and I really don't see any real upside in guessing. So I'm going to take a pass here. If Paul George was to miss, Marcus Morris at 4,900 would be a fantastic value option, but I don't think Paul George is going to miss. For the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. is out for 2 weeks, and that makes Brandon Clark one of the best value plays on the entire slate. He's going to play probably 32 to 34 minutes here against the Clippers. They can't really play Zhang and Jonas together in this spot. I know that's what they want to do against some of the bigger teams, so they don't have to play Josh Jackson a ton of minutes, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the 4 minutes today are going to be split between Brandon Clark and Josh Jackson. And Josh Jackson's been getting some minutes at the 3 as well. So I'm really curious to see what they do for a starting lineup. The coach said he was choosing between Clark and Gorgie Zhang. I kind of think that decision really is Josh Jackson or Brandon Clark. I think if you start Josh Jackson, it's a little interesting because then you can sub him out quickly, get Kyle Anderson in there, and then you can have Clark and Jackson, and then you can have you start Jackson at the 3, have Anderson come in, and then you can have Josh Jackson play the backup 4. Because I'm not really sure what the other option is. Jordan Bell? We haven't seen him play yet. You can't really just start projecting him minutes. So yeah, I actually think, I'm trying to think what the starting lineup would be. John Morant, Dylan Brooks, Josh Jackson, Clark, and Jonas. But they're not going to do that. I don't think they're going to bench Kyle Anderson. So if they go Morant, Brooks, Kyle Anderson, I guess you could do it the other way. You could start Josh Allen, bring Clark in, and then have Clark come in for Kyle Anderson. I guess you could do it the other way. That probably makes sense. So probably Brandon Clark starts. No, because you need Josh Jackson to play the backup 3 and the 4. This is going to be interesting how they do it. But I think Josh Jackson's actually the guy who's going to benefit the next most outside of Brandon Clark. And I have no issues playing them together, actually, at 3,300. Because they just traded away all their other wing size. Justice Winslow's still out, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I think I like think I like Josh Jackson. It's kind of like the really sneaky value play that I hadn't really considered until now. But I love Brandon Clark. He's my favorite option on the slate. Dylan Brooks is too cheap, too. He's just been in a shooting funk. He'll get out of it, and he'll be good to go. I'm not going to play a ton of him, but I am going to get just a smidge of him because this is a guy people were playing like 3 weeks ago at 6,600. Now he's 4,800. Nothing's changed other than he's just cold. D'Anthony Melton off the bench, too. Kind of the same situation. If Dylan Brooks plays more minutes, Melton will get less. So I don't mind Melton. It's kind of a GPP flyer, but for me, the top plays in this game are Brandon Clark and Josh Jackson. I think Josh Jackson's actually really sneaky. I'm actually going to go update my articles to include Josh Jackson. I think he's fantastic now that I thought that through. Okay, so just to recap, top studs, Trae Young, Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid. And then for me, the top values, see, Gorgie Chang, I don't see where the minutes are coming from, but from the top values for me are probably Brandon Clark, Josh Jackson, Mo Wagner, and then I don't mind playing a Robin Lopez or a Melton, but I don't think George Hill's going to play that many minutes, so I would rather have Clark, Jackson, and Mo Wagner than kind of Robin Lopez or Gorgie Zhang. But that's just my opinion. They're all kind of the same price. They'll all be decently owned, but I'm going to lean towards the Memphis guys than the Milwaukee value, just because Milwaukee can just roll out so many different options, and they don't really need to run George Hill or Robin Lopez into the ground. All right, really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and leave in the comments section. We'll do a little promo here at the end. The Memphis Grizzlies that scores the most fantasy points today. Leave in the chat your Fantasy Cruncher username, so if you win the drawing, I can give you a free week of Fantasy Cruncher Pro. With that, guys, enjoy the slate today. This should be fun. And we'll see you tomorrow.